Hey!
This is JJ and Alex.
I made a name for myself, I told you I won't be denied.
As you wrap up your day, it's time to get your fix of the teams you live for and the sports you love. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, everybody, welcome on in. It's another edition of JJ and Alex right here, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. It is a Friday. You know my commitment on Fridays. You know how committed I am to the commitment that I've committed to, JJ. What did we talk about right before we showed up at this beautiful Slorex? It's the Salt Lake Outdoor Expo right here at the Exposition Center in Sandy. What did I tell you my commitment to today was?
We have one rule on Fridays.
Yeah. What is
JJ and Alex?
And
have fun.
You got to have fun. I don't listen at the expense of having it be interesting. Fine.
We'll sacrifice whatever it takes just to have a good time.
Informative.
Don't expect
We're going to go
much.
for full-on fun today. All right. So
except for fun.
Okay. Listen, the Salt Lake Outdoor Expo. I'm telling you, this is as cool as it gets. So we're sitting in. Actually, are we tenants right now of the Sound Warehouse booth right here?
I think so.
So
which I don't mind.
We won't, except
I'm
for
kind
when
of
they
a geek for that stuff.
No, I know, but when they turn the subwoofers on.
Okay.
But we have headsets on, so we're okay.
Yeah.
So we're actually
fine with that.
Yeah,
I'm fine with that.
This could be cool. You come down. Kids 12 and under are free, of course, all weekend long.
And Alex, I'm looking at this thing. That
okay.
is what is this?
So there's a side-by-side in front of us, all right? And so you go, okay, I've seen side-by-sides that are fully enclosed, right? Yeah. I've seen four-door side-by-sides.
I've seen 9-year-olds driving this around in my neighborhood, but not at this level.
This
is souped up.
I am telling you right now, that actually is bigger and nicer than a Jeep. It is like the exact same size of a Jeep Wrangler that's been decked out. And I don't know what you have to do. That's not a car, is it? I mean, they're making it look like, because you could go intense off-roading in that thing.
You can do anything in that.
You could be anywhere. That is, and that's what we're going to.
It might fly.
Hey, that's what you'll find out at these expos, at these outdoor expos and things like that. One of my favorite shows we've ever done is like PrepperCon. So that's what you do is if you're getting ready for the apocalypse, that's the vehicle for you.
Which is coming soon.
That's some Mad Max stuff right there.
That is Mad Max. That's exactly what that reminds me of.
No one's shooting those tires off.
And this thing, I'm looking around, it's like, my goodness, these
Amazing.
things cost $30,000, $40,000.
Oh, yeah.
I drive a 2007 Honda Accord.
You got to up your game, brother.
It does have a V6.
When the Outdoor Expo is rolling out off-road vehicles that are way more than your actual commuter car.
If you can afford one of these, salute. Good for you. Have
but
fun.
It's not. Listen, there's that. There's the dune buggies, the sandrail stuff. It's really fun if you're into the outdoor. Some of the people we like to talk to at these are the recovery guys, the guys who come out and bail you out because you get stuck because you suck.
Yeah.
Right?
Uh-huh.
The one guy, that was his thing. He goes, "Hey, if you're stuck because you suck, we're going to get you unstuck because we don't suck."
That's
so
quite a slogan.
I always love it because it's a really cool thing. Hey, Joey, are these kids eligible for free candy? I mean, what's going on here? Can you absolutely get some free candy for the kids when you come down? All right, we're gonna have some fun today. We've already started off pretty good. I've already started doing some flat Earth stuff with you earlier. We'll get into that in just a moment. All right.
We've covered PrepperCon and Flat Earth.
By the end of the day,
this is going to get weird today.
By the end of the day, I'm going to reel you in, man, to the Flat Earth stuff.
Okay.
At least one player at the.
I learned today there is no solar system.
No, it's not even.
I've been lied to for 46 years.
Flat Earth. The next level is there are no planets. All right, which is where one player at the combine. I would say if your agent says, "Hey, listen, maybe let's stay away this week from the no planets and no solar system stuff."
Well,
and
if
no
you have
space.
a broad jump of 12 feet 2 inches, you can say whatever you want at the combine.
Quite weird.
It doesn't matter.
All right, let's kick the show off. We've got tons to do. We're going to have a ton of fun here at the Expo Center in Sandy. Mountain America Expo Center in Sandy is where we are for the Salt Lake Outdoor and Recreation Show right here. Slorex, Slorex.com, Slorex. If you want to get tickets, Slorex.com. Let's kick off the show as we always do. Our program is brought to you by G2G Bars. All natural ingredients, no preservatives. The G2G Bar, perfect for anybody who needs a quick, tasty, and nutritious boost. let's jump in right here. We've had some we got to get into this college football playoff discussion we didn't get to yesterday because we had a short show. So let's do it right now with the cut.
It's time for the biggest story of the day. This is what made the cut with JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
So we made fun of Clemson's head basketball coach this week, who was boo-hooing about the fall of the ACC, and it's all because of those darn Big 12 teams that are manipulating the net system, right?
Yeah.
And because BYU's in the Big 12 and Utah's going to be in it next year, and they're in a very healthy place basketball-wise in the conference, the Big 12, obviously. They're in a very, very comfortable spot, being by far the best conference in basketball. They're doing what the big conferences and the big teams do in college football, which is it's not gaming the system. Because I think what's lost in the conversation of quote-unquote gaming the system, you're not playing any tough teams. Your strength of schedule is garbage, which call me back in 6 months because we're going to be doing the same thing when we start talking about the SEC and their soft schedules set up so that they can get to the college football playoff. The thing is that's the smart way to do it. If you want to get the most attention, what do you have to do, JJ? You go to the college football playoff. Exactly. If you have to get the most attention in the college basketball world, what is it? You got to get the NCAA tournament.
Yes.
And to do that,
you got to win in the NCAA tournament.
And to do that, boost up my net rating. Put my net ranking in my veins because that's how we're going to survive.
It was incredible how much BYU tricked the computers on Tuesday night in Lawrence. That was an unbelievable performance to fool the computer rankings.
Listen, it's because
pull off that win.
Well, it's not computers that run that, right? It's the reptilian people.
Oh yes. Okay.
See, I'm going full.
We've got preppers today. We've got no solar system.
It's the reptiles.
And now we know that college basketball, the entire NCAA tournament selection committee are reptilians.
Fakes. It's the reptile people. That's who don't want you to. That's who's running the college football playoff.
Now it makes sense.
Okay. So the Big Ten and the SEC are apparently trying to ruin college football, all right? A possible 14-team playoff already being discussed before we've even gotten to a 12-team playoff. 16 teams is also part of that discussion because in the current contract, they're only going 2 years of a guarantee of these 12 teams in the college football playoff, right? So first-round buys for champions, and then 3 auto bids. So 14-team playoff after a 12-team 2-year run that they're going to have. So the SEC and the Big Ten want first-round buys for their champions.
Of course they do. Which,
by the way, that's the way it's set up, right? The first-round buy for the champions of any of the – if Utah ends up being the Big 12 champion, which I think, we all sort of now look at Utah, and it's almost their conference to lose at this point, the way we've been talking about it, they are going to be an automatic 1 through 4 seed, right? And the 1 through 4 seeds get a bye in that first round of the playoffs. Am I wrong? No. I'm like trying to imagine. Did I get that wrong? No. But it's not just that.
The SEC and Big Ten want all the buys.
They want all the buys, okay? So it's not
based
just
on what?
So, but it's not even just that, and 3 auto bids per conference. So you're talking about first round buys, okay? And then 3 auto bids apiece. So they're asking for 8 of the 14 teams in the college football playoff going up. Now, as my son will come up to me and say, "Dad, can we get that $40,000 side-by-side at the Salt Lake Outdoor Expo?" I'll go, "Hell no." Right? And then what is and then what is his response? Doesn't hurt to ask.
Right.
Which is what I kind of treat this like. Now, if you are the most powerful conferences in the land, I don't know, from a competition standpoint, not having if we didn't have BYU and Utah in a power conference fighting for because what I'm saying is that they would have a spot taken from them potentially, right? But if I'm not one of those people, if I'm not a fan of any of those, if I'm just a college football, give me the best matchups, who's to say that the SEC and the Big Ten would not be the best matchups? It's hard to argue against a conference that wants 8 teams in out of the 14 because typically 8 teams out of the Big Ten and the ACC are better than everybody else. Is that wrong?
And that's just the autos. They'll want the at-larges too.
Give me the at-larges.
They want
the autos. Now,
Alex,
that's crazy.
This is just becoming the Big Ten the SEC Invitational. This is what they want. They want a national championship based on Big Ten versus SEC, and they don't want anybody else to play in their sandbox. That's exactly what this is. And they believe, because of the support they have from Fox and ESPN and the power they now wield, that they can make this happen. This is not what anybody wants, except the people that make money in the Big Ten and the SEC. This can't happen. This can't be allowed to happen because this is not what's good for college football.
Right.
And at some point, it's going to be, okay, people are going to lose interest. It's like, oh, what is this? This is just minor league football, right? You're going to lose certain parts of this that matter so much to make it an interesting competition. Because who wants to watch, essentially, the Big Ten versus the SEC, other than people that love the Big Ten and SEC teams? And perhaps if you love college football and you love watching Alabama versus Michigan, then you get what you want, I guess.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, right? That's who wants this.
Mm-hmm.
Roll damn Tide. They want it. Michigan wants it. But does you, the college football fan, you, the college football consumer, want that? Or would you rather have everyone represented, equal access for everybody, if you earn it, to get a chance to go?
Okay.
The group of five, the at-larges, I think it needs to be that way. And I think you need to reward college football conference champions, but this only rewards two conferences.
Okay, in the current setup of the 12-team playoff, you'd have first-round buys for 1 through 4. In the 14-team playoff, you're only getting 2 buys, even though you're adding 2 teams. So here's how the numbers work. It would be the number 1 overall seed in the and I think that they're just taking – so I think what we're looking at here, this is a projected 14-team playoff that Ross Dellinger did for Yahoo, okay? A projected top 14, all right? So the Big 12 would have the Big 12 number 1. Am I missing it over here?
He's got Arizona.
He's got Arizona, okay? You're not going to like this, Utah fans, because – and listen, you got to at Ross Dellinger, not us, because he actually has the Big 12 number 2 team as Oklahoma State also.
Right.
So those are his 2. Now, in this scenario, let's just –
Kyle Whittingham already has that hanging up in his in the locker
Listen,
room.
he printed it out, and he's like, honey, I have some great news. and then she's all,
he sent a thank you note to Ross Dellinger.
And then he has to put on a pouty face for his players. I mean, oh, shoot. They're disrespecting us. But in this setup, the number 1 team out of the Big 12, he's got at Arizona. Now, they have the Arizona team listed as a 10 seed.
Correct.
Being the number 1 team of the Big 12.
Read off the 1 through 9s.
Let me go through 1 through 9. Number 1 out of the Big 10, Michigan.
Okay.
Number 2 out of the SEC, Texas.
Okay.
Number 3 out of the Big 10, Washington. Jeez, it just sounds so weird to say that out loud as I'm saying that. Number 4 out of the SEC, Alabama. Number 5 out of the ACC, Florida State. Number 6 out of the SEC, Georgia. Number 7 out of the Big 10, Ohio State. Number 8 out of the Big 10, Oregon. And number 9 out of the SEC, Missouri. Gosh dang it.
You see a theme here?
Yeah, I do. Number 10 is, like I said, Arizona out of the Big 12. So right now, out of those first 12 that I listed off, what do we have? 2 are not
the
SEC
ACC
Big 10.
champion and the Big 12 champion. That's
Okay.
it.
And by the way, the SEC champion or the ACC champion is the number 5 seed. The Big 12 champion is the number 10 Arizona Wildcats. Okay, 11 out of the ACC is Louisville. Number 12 out of the Big 10 is Penn State. Number 13 out of the Big 12 is Ohio State, and number 14 out of the may she rest Pac-12,
the new Group of 5 champion,
the new G5 champion, Oregon State.
Okay.
So what? How many did you get?
9 teams out of the 14.
Out of the 14
are Big 10 SEC.
Yeah.
But
tell me that that's not
only one team in the top 10 was non-SEC Big 10.
Okay.
Which was Florida State.
Now this is doing a lot of assuming, right? But I think that the point is that the sport that I love more than anything on this planet, which is college football, not just football, college football. I begged for a 12 and I begged for a 14 team, something more than just a 2 or 4 team playoff or the dreaded old school, just like writing down, hey, who did you vote for your national champion? That was always a terrible. No more BCS. This is supposed to be a better system. The thing is that are these teams the best teams, though? Are these teams? But when you look at this, if you were to take away conference affiliation, because a lot of these, Texas, Oregon, Washington, who else am I missing? Arizona, but in a different way. Some of these teams were not in there. They weren't in this. They weren't in the Big Ten of the SEC last year, right? And so if they end up being the best teams, which, again, Washington I don't even think is going to be a top 25 team by the end of next year, but that's a whole other thing.
They're almost rebuilding.
But, and you look at this, though, and the Blue Bloods are pretty much there. And the best teams in the country, I mean, you're talking about the reason that they're there is because their ranking is about that level. I think that the Big 12 champion should be a top 4 seed, a top 5 seed, okay?
What is the meaning
of not having it?
Winning a conference championship?
You're supposed to be
it's not going to mean anything.
Right. But why wouldn't it? Look, did the Big 12 – the Big 12 took a hit because Oklahoma and Texas left, right? But
sure.
You arguably added even better teams, at least over the past couple decades, right? When you talk about Utah at the very least. Arizona State and Arizona, it'll take 2 seconds. By the way, Arizona is going to be maybe better than Utah this year. Just as good or maybe better. But I think, one, it's a massive disrespect. Utah should probably be on this list. And if you put Utah at a number 13 seed to replace Oregon or Oklahoma State, that feels weird too, because it's freaking Utah, who, by the way, should be well ahead in terms of just like recent memory over teams like Missouri and even Oregon or even Arizona or even Ohio State in terms of how they've competed over the past couple of seasons.
Whether it's Arizona or Utah or Kansas State or Oklahoma State, the Big 12 champion being a 10 seed and having to go on the road, I'm assuming these first-round games are neutral or home sites.
I hope they figure it out.
So you win your conference championship. You win the Big 12 championship.
They play,
and you get a 10 seed, and you got to go to the shoe and play
right.
Ohio State?
You got to play the number 3 Big Ten team on this list.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
So you're saying that
doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, but listen, on paper, if you were to make a matchup and you were to just kind of close your eyes, who would be a better team on paper between Arizona and Ohio State?
It depends. I don't know that.
Come on.
On paper?
You know
from a talent perspective?
You know always. Yeah, well, let's say that Ohio State's the number 3 team.
Well, if we're judging based on your 5 stars, then Texas A&M should be in here. Right?
Well,
by that logic.
I think the
results on the field week 1 through 12 and the championship game need to matter. In this, it doesn't.
Let me see here.
If you're 4th place or 5th place in the SEC, you still have a shot at the playoff. Help me understand that, Alex. If you finish 4th in the SEC, you don't win a conference championship, you don't even go to your conference championship game, why should you be in the college football playoff? What have you done to earn inclusion other than just being in the right club? And then we're right back to the same problem we've always had.
How do they have
We thought this was going to be solved by a 12-team playoff. And now the Big Ten and the SEC want to co-opt the thing and make it their invitational, which just keeps the power and the money with those 2 conferences. At some point, we all know where this is going. Eventually, they're going to break off completely, and this is just the first step, is them saying, okay, we have the power, we have the money, we're just going to go start our own thing and just leave everybody else behind. At this point, that's better than this. Don't do this.
Yeah.
Don't try to sell to everybody that this is a real playoff.
Right.
It's not
this is based off of if this were to happen from this last year's just final rankings, okay? Because I think we know Washington will not be the Big Ten number 2. Ohio State might be the Big Ten number 1 or number 2, maybe number 1. Texas is not going to be the SEC number 1. Can we shake on that?
I don't know.
Can we at least make that commitment? Now they do have backup quarterback Arch Manning. So there you go.
Georgia at 6. That's interesting. I'm not worried about.
But that's
teams.
all because that's where they
the teams.
But that's what they shook out in the college football.
The bracket you're showing me gives me an idea of how this could go down,
right?
And how the Big Ten and the SEC are cooking this up to benefit them. That's exactly what that is. And again, this is the, I don't know, whatever computer rankings they might use to determine, I don't know how they're going to do that with the committee. The committee is going to be like, they're going to look at this, and they're going to look at the strength of schedule. Well, they played each other over and over again. Okay. I mean, they're not even going to play. Like, half these teams aren't even going to have played each other during the regular season because the conferences are so big. So it's cooked. It's all cooked. It's just an effort to keep the power with those two conferences. And if everybody doesn't do what they say, they're going to say, all right, we're just going to go form our own college football league, which is exactly where this is going.
Well, listen, if you're going off of last year, that Utah team wouldn't have made the 12-team bracket.
No, not last year. The year before.
And the year before that even, obviously. But this is going off of last year's kind of final rankings. That's why Oregon State is still in it. That's why Oklahoma State would be in it. That's why Florida State is 5, Alabama 4, because that's where it was. 1, 2 is Michigan, Texas, 3 Washington, 4 Alabama.
Yeah, this is based off of last year's
so
final.
If you were to do it like that, then here we are. I mean, that's basically one thing about who is going to make it to the 14-team playoff. If it's going to be the best teams and it's just based off of ranking and champions, then great. But if you're going to give a Big 12 team the number 10 seed,
right,
that seems weird.
Right.
If you're going to give the Big 10 number 3 a 7 seed, then that seems quite crazy here. All right, more to go around the corner. 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
Accessing. When TV and radio collide.
Love it.
Wow. This is what you get. You're listening to JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars.
Don't touch that dial.
On 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
I think the key is just for our offense to be executing at a high level. I thought today was a really good start, and then normally offense isn't clicking like they were today, and that's a huge compliment to the guys that are coming back. There's a lot of leadership coming back and productivity coming back, but also I think it's good leadership from our guys. It's, we had a really good offseason, so I think it's showing. The guys look really good. I like to have a starter as soon as we can, but the competition is all depending on who steps out and who does the most to get the spot. It's not going to be handed to them, so somebody has to earn it.
Welcome back. It is JJ and Alex, 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone, head coach of BYU football. Kalani Sitake right there talking the more important talking points from BYU spring, which, of course, is who the heck is your quarterback, Coach?
It's
well, we got some stuff. We got some things we got to figure out. Got some stuff. There's a competition. There you go. I am fascinated by this whole thing. Spring football underway as of yesterday. We got tons of sound to go through. It's hard to paint a picture when you can't actually see what's going on at practice, and the media observation portions of practice are pretty tight as well, and they're short. So you don't get to see a lot. We're going to chat with Matt Baiamonte of Cougar Sports Saturday coming up next hour. And Matt is, of course, covering all of this for KSL Sports. And so he and Mitch Harper do a phenomenal job going down there, getting all those interviews. But, yeah, it's just one of those things, JJ, where it's one of the more fascinating spring footballs for BYU because of how the season went, because of the changes that have been made in the offseason to some key coaching spots, including, of course, your offensive coordinator. Your offensive line coach. How is A-Rod going to respond after a year of some of the worst BYU offense we've ever seen in that program? So many questions that have to be asked there. And Kalani, of course, brought up or I'm sure he wasn't the one who was like, hey, can we talk about quarterbacks? I'd love to chat more about quarterbacks.
They asked about the kickers and punters for like 20 minutes, and finally at the end. Kalani's like, hey, you guys want to hear about the quarterback position? I have a few thoughts. I'm with you. I think that this is the story of spring football for BYU is how is the competition going? Who's standing out? We're going to be asking that question every time. And because they don't allow media to watch it, which is totally fine, that's the coaches make those decisions. But we're going to ask for updates. We're going to want to know because that's what you, the BYU fan, wants to know. And so they have to find a guy. And I talked about it yesterday. I don't think they have to have a starter named by the end of spring football. but you got to have a pretty good idea that you feel confident you've got a guy that's going to help you. Whether it's two guys that have stood out and you're going to let them battle it out in fall camp, or if you have one guy that has an edge and you feel good about him going in, because then you don't need to go out and get another one. But when you have 8 guys in camp and 8 guys in the quarterback room, that's a lot of guys, and that's a lot of guys that need reps and need looks. But even Aaron Roderick, when he talked to Hans last hour on Hans and Scotty, said it's Gary Bohannon and Jake Retzlaff who are getting the most reps, who are getting the top looks. But on Monday, you were gone. Mitch Harper and I talked about this. When was the last time BYU had this much uncertainty at the quarterback position going into a season? He took me all the way back to 2002.
Yeah. Matt
Berry, Brett Ingeman, and we all know how that went. After Brandon Doman was gone, they needed somebody to step into Gary Croton's system, and it never really developed.
So I remember I played against Matt Berry in high school.
Yeah.
And they crushed us. And I remember thinking, that guy's good, and he's committed to BYU, and you're like, that's going to be. So, and of course I start going to BYU in 2002, and I'm like, let's get some Matt Berry going on. And it was not good. It was not a good situation, obviously. Those years between 2002 and 2005 were some of the worst.
Yep. And eventually John Beck rose from, was the cream of the crop.
Right.
There, but you had
took a long time.
Why did that program struggle those years? Because they didn't have consistent quarterbacks.
And part of it was because I think the only thing that I would disagree with you on is that these competitions are happening all over the place. It's one thing to be uncertain about who your starting quarterback is and to have a couple of like dogs in there, man. Guys who you know are good.
Right.
Guys who you're like, this dude, and that blessing, quote unquote, of like having 2 amazing quarterbacks who are going to be battling it out is not where BYU's at.
Right.
They have, like you said, more of a situation where it's just like these guys. We're not looking at the cream of the crop here. You're not looking at the best quarterback. By far, the worst quarterback situation in the entire Big 12 is BYU. And that doesn't mean that Gary Bohannon played at a Big 12 winning Baylor team.
Won a championship that year.
But I think we all know Gary, don't call me Jerry, is over here like obviously coming in knowing, one, I have to earn my spot. There's nothing given here. He's not showing up and then it's a charity situation of thanks for coming to BYU. Here's your starting position. Here's what Gary Bohannon had to say first time being able to talk to him at spring, talking about that he knows that this is a competition.
Oh, it's been good. Just finding ways to compete and help each other as much as we can. I mean, we all know what it is. It's a competition. We're coming out finding ways to get better and helping each other get better at the same time.
What competition do you help each other in? That's like me telling my wife. Somebody interviewed me about playing Monopoly with my wife, which is like the worst thing that I could have ever done at the beginning of my marriage. And like going, hey, oh yeah, we're just out here trying to help each other out. No, we're not.
Yeah.
It's a competition. You can't say we're helping each other out and it's a competition.
Only one can win.
You're trying to be like nice to each other and be quote unquote supportive of one another, but you want to be better than that other guy. So it's a weird spot to be in because you got to be a good teammate and you got to be a good, but you also need to put yourself out there as the best competitor.
You want to be, as Kyle Whittingham would call Cam Rising, you need an alpha dog. So who's going to be the alpha dog? And that doesn't mean be nice.
Nope.
In a sense, that doesn't mean you have to be disrespectful. It's just you have to go out there, act like and be the man. You've got to set yourself apart. How do you do that? It's not just with your play on the field. It's how are you in the weight room? How are you in team meetings? How are you in team settings? How are you developing your leadership and all those things? It's an all-encompassing thing. It's not just what you do on the field. Who's going to step up in those areas? And you're right. I don't disagree with you. I don't think BYU's got, no matter who wins this competition, one of the top quarterbacks in the Big 12. Not even close. They're going to have to find ways to win where other positions are their strength. They just need some consistency from the quarterback position and somebody to take care of the football, which Jake Retzlaff did not do those last couple of games that he started.
If he would have beaten Oklahoma that game, do you think we maybe just don't even have this conversation?
Probably.
It's like,
Gary Bohannon probably isn't at BYU.
And or if he is here,
I believe that.
The idea is, he's coming in as the backup just in case Retzlaff is not the guy after a couple of games, which is not how you get guys in.
You think Gary Bohannon would have came here?
No.
Exactly.
None under that. None under those pretenses.
Because Gary knows he's got a chance to win this job because That didn't happen last year. Nobody set themselves apart.
Think about where he's at, though, in his career. This is it. For Keaton Slovis, that was it, right? Now, you can say what you want about how Keaton Slovis struggled and he wasn't the guy at the end, but he also earned himself a spot into, like, do you think that if he was there at Pitt one more year that he gets invited to the Combine?
No.
Maybe, but probably not. He ends up getting the invite. Gary Bohannon has something that he's got to prove, and that's exactly what he talked about as well.
Oh, I feel like I have a lot of fire left. I mean, had the game taken away from me for a year, so got a lot to try to get back into it just to prove it to myself.
Okay. By the way, if you were wondering what his goal is, it's not to go in there and be a great teammate. It's to go in there and be the starting quarterback, and he also mentioned that.
Oh, very badly. I mean, we train for this our entire lives. As a kid growing up, you want to be a college quarterback. You want to make it to the NFL, be an NFL quarterback. It's just about the small goals and the small things to get you there. Everybody, I want to be in this position, and we got to be good and be comfortable with taking everything that comes with it, the good and the bad.
Is there a version of what basketball is doing this year for BYU to be able to crack some weird code and make something happen in football? Now, the good news is the Big 12 has been a totally unpredictable league the last few seasons. And it's been every year it's been totally different teams playing in the Big 12 championship game. I think in the last 3 years it's been 6 different teams, right? And that's what we talked about before the last one.
Yep.
So it is an up in the air thing, and anything can change in a moment. And that's what coaches are banking on, that they get shorted, right? That somebody talks about them and that they're not good enough. They don't have the talent. They weren't good last year, so obviously they're not going to be good this year. They bank on that. They love that because then they go, fine, we know where we need to go. We know not everybody else is in the locker room. Not everybody else knows what they're going through. So is there a version of that happens for BYU in football versus basketball?
So how does BYU crack the code and do what the basketball team this year and defy all odds and surprise everybody?
Yeah, just be a top 25 team most of the year next year in football. No problem.
I don't think it's going to come from the quarterback position per se, but what was the recipe for Oklahoma State last year?
Good running game.
Great running game. Best running back in the country.
Mm-hmm.
Can that BYU offensive line step up this year and be more together with a new offensive line coach and allow BYU to run the football more effectively? And can that defense step up and keep BYU attached in games, which they weren't able to do last year in the Big 12? Too many blowouts last year, right?
Oh, yeah.
Teams just absolutely steamrolled them, and that's got to change. So, yes, there is a path. There is a code, Alex, even without elite quarterback play. But it's going to be hard, and you're going to have to ask your run game and your defense to lead the way. West Virginia did it last year, too. That's a team that did not have an aerial attack.
Right.
That was a team that had got solid quarterback play. They ran the football effectively, and their defense kept them in games.
Speaking of other quarterbacks, let's get quickly through some of the comments that Jake Retzlaff had to say. He talked about focusing on football. He knows that he basically lost his starting job until further notice, and here's what he said about it.
To be honest with you, I'm not worried about that right now. I'm just worried about going out there and balling. Like I said, I've been waiting for this for a long time, so worrying about stuff like that's going to take care of itself at the end of the day is not what I'm doing. It's not what I'm focused on. So, just like I said, I'm focused on there getting reps and getting out there with the guys. It's fun to play football.
Not worried about that.
Except the right attitude. You have to take that approach.
It's not that I'm not worried about it, except for that's the thing I'm most worried about.
Stop it. Shut up. No. Trust me, as an athlete in that situation with all the pressure in the world on you, you're not in control. You're not in control of what Aaron Roderick decides to do. You're not in control of what Kalani Sitake thinks about you.
Right.
You're only in control of what you do on a daily basis in your preparation and your performance. And he's absolutely right that he has to be locked in on that, because that's the only way he's going to be able to do this. Because if you start thinking about all the pressure and all the mistakes you made last year and perhaps a missed opportunity at the end of last year, and they're bringing in a senior quarterback who's won a Big 12 championship, and there's a lot of people that don't think I can do that, you can't have that on your mind. You just got to go out and focus on being the best football player you can be. And he's right. You have to have a loose, just carefree approach to what you're doing. That doesn't mean you're not paying attention to detail. It means you're playing free, you're playing loose, you're allowing yourself to be your best self without getting all caught up in the anxiety of what comes along with being a BYU quarterback.
Real quickly, here's what he said about the actual quarterback competition itself.
That's the world we live in, right? If you're not competing, then what are you doing? I mean, iron sharpens iron, so that's the way, that's the way I look at it. It's like, well, those guys are going to push me to be better every day. So that's just the mindset I got going into it. And like I said, not worrying about the outside things is what you got to do in a competition. Got to be confident in yourself and just go out there and ball, do your thing.
Don't you love all of the cliche stuff that gets mentioned during all those things?
Well, he's listening to his coaches in meetings.
Iron sharpens iron, as they always say. We're going to take a break, so we'll come back. We got more to go around the corner. We are here at the Slorex Show in Salt Lake. Stay with us, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
Take the Zone with you wherever you go. Download the KSL Sports app to get live streaming of your favorite shows.
Downloading.
Download the latest podcasts and get all the latest breaking and churning. As JJ and Alex ask, would you rather?
All right, welcome back. JJ and Alex, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. Nominate your youth sports volunteer that you want to make the Hercules Hero of the Week. You've heard us talking about these on Thursday. We read off a winner every week. The way you do it is, and what we're looking for is, anybody who has made an impact in youth sports across the state of Utah, we want to hear about those people. The unsung hero of youth sports in your neighborhood, or somebody who just does that extra mile, who really, really pitches in to make sure that youth sports is on the right track. You can, of course, think of somebody probably off the top of your head, JJ, but we want people to actually go in and make those nominations so that we can honor them on our program every Thursday. Go to kslsports.com/contest, and then we will take those nominations. We'll read them. We'll pick a winner every week, and they'll win a $50 gift card courtesy of Hercules Credit Union, part of our Hercules Hero of the Week. kslsports.com/contests. Okay. Let's do a little bit of a would you rather situation. Would you rather have someone just be a clear-cut pick for quarterback by the end of spring, or do you want this thing to get drawn out all the way up until August 22nd or something like that if you're a BYU
If I'm
fan?
BYU, I don't even want to know who the starting quarterback is until the first snap of the first game.
Ooh.
Because I need the quarterbacks to be on edge that much to drive and push them.
Oh, I like
to be
it.
better and to be ready to go.
Hey, would you say iron sharpens iron maybe?
I think iron needs to sharpen iron
There we
all
go.
throughout the summer and even into the fall. Look, there can't be any complacency here. And you know what? I don't know that was the case with Keaton Slovis, but I think it would have been helpful had there been another person pushing Keaton Slovis all throughout the summer.
We had heard about Jake Retzlaff, but that wasn't supposed to be his year last year, right?
Right.
And, that's the part where I feel a little bit bad because I think that he was thrust into a situation where it was like, well, look, he's not good enough for us to burn the red shirt on, but we want him to get that experience. So you were asking a guy to be even more you were asking him to be more prepared than he was supposed to be. Like, timing-wise, if Keaton Slovis was the guy, you didn't want to see Jake Retzlaff. Or maybe you did when they were blowing guys out in certain games, and that, of course, wasn't going to be the case.
You didn't want to see anybody but Keaton Slovis last year because you brought him in believing he was the guy that was going to lead you to a lot of wins.
So instead, all the BYU, Cougar Nation asked of Jake Retzlaff was to beat West Virginia, beat Oklahoma, beat Oklahoma State. Who am I missing in there?
Iowa State.
And beat Iowa State. All games
come close to happening.
All games. Yeah, the closest two were the two games you didn't think were going to be the closest,
right,
which is Oklahoma and Oklahoma State. But I think that people forget that there was he wasn't ready for that yet.
No.
They weren't anticipating for him to be that guy yet. But, as a backup quarterback, by the way, they just didn't have backup quarterbacks. And I don't even know, honestly.
How has their depth changed?
What? It has not.
Right.
And that's the part that makes you nervous if you're a BYU fan. Now, would you rather win a Big 12 title and be the 10th seed of next year's college football playoff, or win one game at the NCAA tournament?
Oh, boy. I think it depends on the school we're talking about. Which school?
The University of Florida. No, I'm talking about either
Which
BYU
school?
or –
It
okay. It does depend.
Yeah,
even at a –
well, okay.
Okay, let's go BYU. Let's go BYU since we were just talking about it.
I think BYU fan right now that's all hyped up and excited about their basketball team wants to go make a run in this NCAA tournament. So
Okay.
I think BYU fan right now is all in on March Madness.
Right.
I think Utah fan, who's been knocking on the door of the playoff over the last 3 or 4 or 5 years, is ready to break through that door and go to the playoff. I don't think a lot of Utah fans would be like, man, I really want to see this Runnin' Utes team win an NCAA tournament game this year.
Yeah.
They want to see Utah go to the college football playoff in the first year of the 12-team playoff.
Now, normally these are kind of a hypothetical situation.
Uh-huh.
But you're dead wrong on this one.
Okay.
Okay?
I'm wrong about a hypothetical.
It's always football.
I'm wrong about a hypothetical.
Always football. It was a trick question, JJ.
Even for
There's
BYU
only
fan.
one answer. Oh, for BYU fan. Well, look, I know right now. I know right now it's fun. What a ton of fun. Ask yourself if they lose to TCU tomorrow by 14 at home. If that,
I guess
I'm not going to say that's
maybe
gonna
there's a
happen.
little recency bias with what I
Of
just
course
said.
there is.
Because that Kansas win was an incredible experience.
I think any BYU fan worth their weight in Cougar tail maple glaze would tell you that they would trade anything that's going on with this basketball team for their team to be competitive at the top of the Big 12 next year. Absolutely. Now, again, there might be some basketball heads out there, and I apologize, Tim Lacombe, if I'm not giving enough love to college basketball. But I'm just telling you, that's what I want. I got to have it. I got to have
maybe
college football.
there was a little bit too much reality in my hypothetical.
Right. All right, we're going to take a break.
Ladies and gentlemen,
You're locked into JJ and Alex. With the insight and analysis on the teams you can't live without. Presented by G2G Bars. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Honestly, I feel like everybody in the world know about the history of this position here. You got to match that level every year. But that's what it's about. Like every year, there's a good quarterback in the system that runs this. So you need that every single year. Every team needs a really good quarterback because that's who's in command. That's who's the leader on the field. That's the guy. The quarterback position is very important.
I love Gary. Gary's great. Me and that guy had inside jokes on day 2, to be honest with you. I mean, it's cool to see a guy like that, with some experience to come in the room, and that's so fun to be able to just, bounce things off of him. And he's a great dude, and just love hanging out with the guy in general.
Welcome back. It is 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. It's a Friday, and we're out and about, which is the best way to do it on a Friday. We're at the Mountain America Expo Center here in Sandy. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy.
You nailed that.
Got it. That's where we're at.
I love being here, Alex, but it's also hard because I want stuff that's here, and I can't afford it.
Yeah. I bought a golf club today, and part of that was just one. That's where I'm at in my life. I bought a rescue club that I wanted, and then that was a twofold situation for me, which was I said, I already bought something today, so I can't buy these many accessories that I want to buy while I'm here. I'll get sold on anything too, JJ. I'll be over here and I'll be like they got they have a dehydrated salsa over here, and I'll get sold on that in 2 seconds. I'm about to walk over there.
You're going to walk out of here, go down to the
Yes.
local grocery store, buy the
1,000%.
chips, and bring them back.
That's 1,000% what I would do because I'm gullible like that. It's not gullible. It's a great deal. That's the way I look at it. All right? I'll walk out of here with new sunglasses and some salsa, and I'll go, well, I didn't buy a UTV, honey. See, that's what I do is I go, I saved us money today.
Uh-huh.
I only spent $200 on accessories at the Outdoor Expo, and that means that I didn't buy – I saved us $95,000 because I didn't buy that UTV over there. By the way, there is a $95,000 UTV over here.
There is. It's amazing. I hope you enjoy your salsa in the doghouse.
I know. Yeah, well, that's but see, again, my wife has used that logic. Well, I couldn't not do it. Otherwise, we were going to lose money.
It was a deal. Saving money.
Had to do it. Our program is always brought to you by G2G Bars. All natural ingredients and no preservatives make the G2G Bar unique and a perfect protein bar. They taste amazing. Local refrigerated section at your grocers, at Costco, Holiday Oil, Maverick. You've seen them, of course, popping up also at Smith's and 7-Eleven. So go check it out, G2G Bar. But let's kick the show off. Let's get Matt Baiamonte on the program here with us. It's The Cut right here at the top of the hour.
It's time for the biggest story of the day. This is what made the cut with JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right. Here's the deal. We have, of course, gotten ourselves very excited about a a couple things going on here in the world of football. We have spring football to talk about. Matt Baiamonte joining us here on the program. Matt, of course, covers the Cougs for KSLSports.com. He's going to be down observing practices and doing as much as he can to get us going on the BYU side of things of what's going on in spring because they're getting started early here. Matt, what's the logic behind starting 2 or 3 weeks before everybody else on the spring football side of things?
Oh, that's a good question. Honestly, I kind of like it from the standpoint of if you get done a little earlier than others, you can have your exit interviews, you can get a jump start on the next round of portaling. So rather
portaling.
than you're still
I love that new term.
You created something new. Let's go portaling.
Let's go portaling, everybody.
Hey, it kind of sounds like we would be having a third opportunity for portaling down the road here with some of these rule changes. But
nice.
Yeah, I kind of like it just in the standpoint of you get that done. You have your exit interviews. You let people know where they stand. People can hit the portal earlier from your team, so it's kind of player friendly in that regard. And then you can focus solely on the portal and everything that's not spring football when that opens up after spring football. So I don't hate that they're starting early, though. It felt a little weird being there in February. I know it was a leap year, but you look down and it's like, geez, it's February and Super Bowl just ended a couple weeks ago and spring football is back. And it's not even close to spring, but it was still fun being there.
Matt, before we dig into the elephant in the room, which is the BYU quarterback situation and competition, just give us the overall vibe you felt there. You were at practice today. You were on the grass. You were out there smelling the smells, which I'm jealous of. I wasn't able to get there yesterday. But what was the overall vibe like, and what are some of the things that stood out to you day one?
I think the number one thing that stuck out to me was true freshman tight end Reiner Swanson. Now, JJ knows this well, and so does Alex, but we don't get to watch a ton of practice. So who knows what happened in the 80% of practice that happened before we got there. But he made multiple catches from Jake Retzlaff and from Gary Bohannon, across the middle, corner routes, that type of – he looked really good. Like, it brought me back to 2019, 2020 when JJ and everyone else at KSL was in Vegas for the entire month, it seemed like, and I was the only one at BYU spring football. And Isaac Rex was balling out. And mind you, Matt Bushman was still in plans at that point. He hadn't tore his Achilles yet. And you felt like, geez, I know Bushman's here and he's great, but Rex is going to factor in. That was my biggest takeaway from yesterday was like, he may not be tight end one, but Reiner Swanson, the true freshman, star tight end at Southern California, he's going to play in the fall, and he's going to make a difference. He was really, really impressive. And then the other takeaway was there was a lot more familiarity in terms of just guys that have been in the program for a couple of years. Last year, there were so many new faces at nearly every position. I mean, offensively, it's like, okay, they're breaking in Slovis. They're breaking in Robbins. They're breaking in new offensive linemen. They've got a bunch of new tight ends you've never heard of. It was every position. It felt like there was all these new faces. This year, there's not as many new faces, which I think could benefit this team to have a little continuity and to build upon some of the stuff they did last year.
So let's talk the quarterback position, and we talk about this quarterback competition. Of course, it was talked about quite a bit. We've already beaten it to death, and we just start day one into the quarterback or into spring ball. Gary Bohannon and Jake Retzlaff, are those the only two that are part of the competition, or is there a reality of somebody else maybe being the starter or the backup that's not one of those two guys?
Those are the only two. It's a two-man race, Retzlaff and Bohannon. Both of them had some really nice moments, some good throws. Bohannon was on that corner out to Swanson. It had a really good touch on it. It's day one, but he threw the ball well. He had some nice passes. So it's probably way too early to say this, but it looks like his shoulder is fine at the injury that ended his tenure at South Florida. And Retzlaff had some nice throws as well. And he displayed what makes him unique. His ability to throw from different angles, had a good sidearm throw over the middle to Keanu Hill. I think it's going to be a long battle, and ultimately, I don't feel like we're going to have a starter named before the first game. That's been something the staff has done before, and I could see it happening again. And If it's both guys are worthy of being the starter, I think the tie would go to Jake Retzlaff just because of the time that this coaching staff put into him last year and those 4 starts at the end of the season. But there wasn't any separation. They both had moments, and I think it's going to be a long battle between those two.
Alex and I just had the conversation about whether that's good or bad, that it could take well into fall camp before a starter's named. What's your opinion on that? Do you think that it would be beneficial for the program to make that announcement and make that decision in March, or wait till last week in August?
My opinion is, JJ, that it's bad. I think there's a lot to be had from naming a starter at the end of spring. That person gets to be the captain in player practices in the summer. That person will get more reps in the fall, which prepares them more for games. And I've just always been a believer of when someone knows that they're the man, they carry themselves a different way. And that might go against what Kalani always talks about, which is competition and every day you got to earn it. And look, I get it. Like, you don't want to just hand someone the job, but I think there is a lot of value to the team, knowing who the guy's going to be, getting extra reps with that guy. Because when you're splitting reps 2 ways, and in spring football, they're splitting it a lot more than that, because there's even after those 2, who's the third guy? There's a number of guys vying for that third spot. And we know that BYU football has had more than 2 quarterbacks play in a lot of seasons in the independent era and now heading into the Big 12. So the reps are split up quite a bit. I think it's just, I don't know. Maybe I'm not caring enough about competition, but I'm someone who believes in having an established guy, get that guy ready for games, and have the teammates that he's going to be playing with at the 5 offensive linemen and the starting tight ends, like, get that group as much repetitions as you can, because there's no replacement in college football, and I didn't even say college basketball as well. There's no replacement for reps. Like, you need as many as you can. There's a limited amount of time that these guys can practice, and I would love it if one of these dudes won the job at the end of spring. I just, after one day, it didn't feel like there was any separation at all.
Matt Baiamonte joining us here on JJ and Alex, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. And as you got to see that first availability and kind of talk to some of these players, how's the energy, though? I mean, I would imagine these guys, it's beyond a level of excitement. It's a job. It's a ton of work, obviously, that kind of – this is one of those moments where it can be put out on a field where – they're suiting up partially. They're out there trying to impress coaches. What's the energy like down there in Provo from the coaches and the players?
I spoke with Chase Roberts after practice yesterday. That's an interview we'll play tomorrow on Cougar Sports Saturday. But he just noted how there seems to be a little different urgency to this year's team because of the way last year ended. He actually felt like, and he's not the only one who felt this way. Mitch Harper actually felt this way, and Chase Roberts agrees with him that he kind of felt like it was a benefit to the team to have lost that Oklahoma State game the way that they did, because it gave them an extra hunger that they maybe wouldn't have had if they went 6-6 and got to a bowl game, and who knows where they would have went. But it would have felt differently than it did this offseason, where that was such a huge motivating factor, the way that they ended last year. Had several opportunities at the end of the year to win a 6th game and go to a bowl game, and week after week after week they couldn't do it. And several of those weeks they were getting blown out. West Virginia, Iowa State. And so he said that, hey, there's just a different level of focus and energy right now, because we still have that bitter taste in our mouths the way that last season ended. So, and I think that's a good thing too for this group, because they have such a hard schedule. We've talked about this on the show. They did not get any favors in conference play. It's got to be incredibly urgent from now until game 1 if they're going to improve upon what they did last year.
Matt, is there a position battle non-quarterback that you find fascinating?
The tight end position, man. I know I just talked about it with Reiner Swanson, but there is basically no production at that position. But there's a lot of talent. There's multiple 4-star tight ends. There's guys they have brought in from the transfer portal that now this is their 2nd year here. And there's a new tight end coach, which I think kind of resets everything. It's a blank slate for all these guys? Is this the year that Jackson Bowers, who last year there was kind of hope and promise that he would develop into someone who got meaningful snaps offensively, that never happened? Does he take a huge jump forward and become that 4-star caliber dude that follows in the footsteps of Isaac Rex? Is Reiner Swanson, did he just come at the perfect time? There's no production here. There's a new tight end coach. Does he just seize the moment? He gets here early so he gets spring football. Does he just become a darling, one of the faces of the offense? I mean, sure, it looked that way yesterday. And then there's other guys last year that are fighting to play and maybe carve out a new role. And then on top of that, you got Keanu Hill, who he had flashes yesterday. I still have questions as to whether or not he can be in every down tight end. I don't love tight ends that are solely on the field for blocking or solely on the field for running pass routes. I feel like it makes it easier to defend defensively. Can he prove enough in the run blocking part of his game to be on the field for run plays that disguises his elite ability of being a pass catcher? So that is such a fascinating battle because there's no clear answer there, and it's going to take a while to figure out. But it's always been a critical part to BYU football success is good tight end play. I mean, when you go back throughout the decades, we could rip off so many names of guys that played in the league and had great careers at BYU. Who's going to be that next guy? I'm going to be watching that battle very closely because it's fascinating.
What about the running back room? I mean, that's one thing where, everybody's looking around and there's some familiar names coming back, but are there other guys who, are really piquing the interest of the coaching staff and you guys that are watching?
The one guy in particular is Miles Davis. Yeah, he flirted with the portal and came back. Does he earn that backup job? It's a really interesting battle because this is one of those positions where I felt like, and myself included, were they going to add someone before spring football? They opted not to. And depending on how these guys perform, do they go into the next wave of portaling and say, okay, we got to go add someone because the depth isn't there. We need another option. Or does Miles Davis, Hinckley Ropati, who missed all of last year, but he had some great flashes 2 years ago at the end of the season. Think about that Boise State game where he was making plays in the screen game. He had some nice runs against Stanford. Does he reemerge and become an option? And does LJ Martin also take a big step forward? He had moments last year, but there were also a lot of games where he wasn't busting for 100 yards and he wasn't showing that explosive ability. Does he step forward and firmly seize that starting job? So that's to be determined, and it's a really important one too, because as Chase Roberts noted yesterday in my conversation with him, he talked about how offensively, from just as a whole, offensively, we got to run the football better, and he's absolutely right. If they can't figure out the run game, which is the running backs and the offensive line, then it's going to be another year like last year where they're at the bottom of college football in total offense. You can't be reliant on the pass game and have no run game. So it's a critical piece that's going to be interesting here in spring ball.
Let's switch gears to BYU hoops, which is a happy topic right now. Nobody saw this coming, the way this BYU team is playing. They are no longer they are a lock. There's no doubt about that after the win at Kansas. Big game on Saturday against TCU. But, Matt, this is our first chance to get your reaction to the Kansas win. What did BYU prove to everyone about them and what they're capable of after the way they performed at the Fog Allen Fieldhouse?
I think they proved to everyone that they're still getting better. Like, these were moments of games that they had lost previously, and we hadn't seen it yet. A breakthrough on the road, late in games, executing offensively. They were getting great shots against Kansas down the stretch. Now, they made them, but the quality of the looks were great too, and that wasn't the case earlier in the year against Cincinnati and a loss at home against Houston. They were having a hard time generating good looks down the stretch. And you love too that it was two of your best players making the plays. Jackson Robinson nailing three-pointers. Dallin Hall off the dribble, breaking down Hunter Dickinson, drilling a three in his face. Like, those are big confidence builders for guys that have to make those plays at the end of games. You need guys in specific roles late in games that you can trust to make a play. And to see Dallin Hall and Jackson Robinson do that on the road in one of the best venues in college basketball, that to me signaled that this team is still improving and learning. And that was the one area where I had real concern going into the tournament was late in game. Where do they go and who's going to make the plays? We finally saw that in a big win against Kansas, one of the biggest wins in program history. And now there's a real opportunity with 2 of your last 3 games at home. If you beat TCU, look, TCU's gathering votes. Like, they're a good, experienced team. It's going to be hard. But if you can win your home games, you got a real shot at a 5 seed, which would be big for this team. So that was a sweet win, but I loved in particular that it was late game execution that got them the win.
What's the how do they avoid the letdown from the insane emotion from Lawrence on Tuesday night versus a Saturday game against TCU, who comes to the Marriott Center, and they're just like, yeah, we hope you guys are still thinking about that game.
I think you nailed it, Alex. It's the Marriott Center. I think if they go on the road, they probably lose because it's hard to generate that energy all the time. But you come back to the Marriott Center. The Marriott Center has been, if not the best venue in the Big 12 this year, I mean, it has been elite, the home court advantage down in Provo. It's right up there in the top 3. Being back at home is such a huge boost for them that I think should help them eliminate, or maybe not eliminate, but avoid the hangover, because it's hard. And that question was asked to the players and Coach Pope and media availability this week, and he said, it's a part of it, but we just got to stay focused one game at a time. But being at home is big, because there's been games at home this year where they haven't played necessarily great. Kansas State is one that comes to mind. UCF comes to mind, but the crowd was so great. It gave them such a boost at moments. I think that is a big deal tomorrow against TCU to avoid that hangover. Just to be back at home. It's a sellout, so I think BYU fans have re-engaged after that Kansas win, and I think it's going to be a lively venue, and that should help them avoid that hangover.
A very, very, very good edition of Cougar Sports Saturday tomorrow because of the football and the basketball angles. Matt Baiamonte, one of the hosts with Mitch Harper, of course, on KSL News Radio. Matt, we appreciate it, man. We'll talk to you again.
Of course. Have a great weekend, you guys.
There you go.
Right. Thanks,
Matt Baiamonte. Avoiding the hangover in Provo, something they're very good at.
Your home for the best coverage of the Jazz, Utes, and Cougars is right here on The Zone. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, welcome back. 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. We are at the Mountain America Expo Center. JJ, what city is this in?
This is Sandy.
That was a trick question. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy.
Well, that's why I knew. But I don't want to step on your toes because nobody does it better than you.
Sandy. Sandy.
That's a real humdinger here. Sounds like an old school baseball play-by-play guy from the 20s.
Hank Azaria does that.
Yeah, that show's great. We're not even allowed to talk about that show on KS.
It's definitely very. It's very much a.
People that have seen the show know what we're talking about right now.
Absolutely.
It's great. Hank Azaria is hilarious.
One of the best voices in the history of voicing over. Take a jazz flag too. We got jazz flags over here. That's the one you wave around at the game. Yeah, let's do it. Let's go. Absolutely. Put it on a wall.
There you go.
We got a JJ, we just earned a fan for life.
Good.
Okay?
Good. That's
why?
one. I've got one.
You know what JJ does really great here? Hand out candy to kids.
Give away stuff that doesn't belong to me?
Give away stuff. Be like, you know what? You can have that. You can have that. I made that chapstick.
I'm going to have a meeting on Monday at 11 a.m. with someone in HR.
Absolutely. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Totally.
Yep.
Take it. Absolutely. Oh, he's a chap. No one's been described as a chapstick nut.
That's
ever
a new thing
until right now.
Okay.
My son's a chapstick nut.
They might want to talk to somebody
no,
about
it's not. It's not like this. Sorry, can we get a quick autograph? JJ, my kid loves KSL Sports Live.
Yeah, right.
Can I get a free chapstick?
My 3-year-old loves KSL Sports Live.
He's a chapstick nut.
Uh-huh.
All right. By the way, next week on the KSL Sports Zone, there is a Win Ticket Wednesday. Of course, we do that every Wednesday. Win Ticket Wednesday is going to be when we get – here's where we get to roll it out on Fridays. Here's the actual tickets you can win. Dan and Shay at Utah First Credit Union Amphitheater, September 20th of this year. Dan and Shay. My wife's into Dan and Shay. Likes the that's how I know it's not Dan plus Shay. Because I think it feels like a Peg plus Cat situation.
Yeah.
Dan and Shay. Yeah, but with a plus sign. That's what it is. All right? Dan and Shay giving away those tickets on Wednesday. And also, we've got Real Salt Lake tickets to give away in about 20 minutes. So don't miss it. We're going to give those away as well. I think for tomorrow's match, right, Jeremy? Is that what's going on? Yes.
Wow.
So tomorrow's match, we're going to give away some tickets. You might as well. Look, first home match of the season. See what I did there? Home match.
I like that. On the pitch?
If you're
at American
lucky,
First Field.
If you're lucky, I'll call it pitch. All right.
They're going to be wearing their kits on the pitch.
They got their football
for
boots.
Their match.
They got their football boots. It's not even cleats. They're boots.
You got them all right. Checked all the boxes.
All right.
You are officially a soccer aficionado.
Yes, I am. So, bracketology. Let's give you a little bit of an update because, and by the way, we would never mention any of this if you didn't have teams that were firmly planted in the middle of the discussion of teams that could make a difference in March Madness. By the way, Utah State and BYU both are teams that if you have experts talking about it, they're like, watch out.
Yeah.
Utah State knows how to win close games. BYU can shoot the absolute lights out, and that comes at a premium in the tournament.
Yep.
And they've also shown that they can beat teams that are favored.
They beat the number 7 team in the country in one of the toughest places to play in the country, and they could do that again in the tournament. There's no doubt about it.
4 top 25 wins for BYU this year.
Impressive.
What has that gotten them? It's firmly in the conversation of they are currently sitting as the first of 4 6 seeds.
But in bracket matrix.
So if you're not familiar with bracket matrix, they take. Not you, JJ.
I wish I was smart enough to do that.
There are 115 brackets I think they go over. You know, all the big ones and then all the way down to even small regional ones, which those, by the way, are some that get it totally right. Compared to even some of the big dogs. So BYU's average seed in bracket matrix across the 109 brackets is 5.81, which is the first time that they've cracked that 5-point-something on bracket matrix all season long, which means that at the very least everybody has them at about a 6 seed.
Yeah, Joey Brackets.
You have a handful that have them at 4.
I'm a Lenardi guy. I love Joey Brackets.
Yeah.
I think he's the most accurate, obviously, with ESPN, and he's got BYU moving up. He's got him a 5 seed in the Salt Lake regional.
Please.
In the same line as San Diego State, who would be a 4 seed. How much fun would that be with the history between those two schools playing for a spot in the Sweet 16?
Okay, listen.
At Delta Center.
Kids who love college sports and love watching games. I was trying to explain to my son the other day, like, hey, buddy, I think you should go to some – like, you're at a formidable age. That 13 to 15-year-old age is like you'll remember going to some NCAA tournament games in Salt Lake City. So even if BYU's there or not, or Utah State's there or not, I'm going to say go to those games at Delta Center. Go to the games. NCAA tournament games are not something that comes around all the time. We're lucky enough to be in a market that gets games quite often, right? And so that's we're on that rotation
every 3 or 4 years. It seems.
And periodically we get the regional championship is here, so you'll have teams that are this year fighting to get, like you said, into the Sweet 16. So a couple first and second round games, and then every so often you get the Sweet 16 and Elite 8 games, and that. When that happened, when was the last time we had that? That was at Butler.
Yeah, Gordon Hayward.
That was at Butler.
That's when we had the regional.
Gonzaga.
Gordon Hayward. The funny thing is, Gordon would become drafted by the Jazz, but that year previous in March Madness, I think they had to go through Kansas State in a classic.
Right.
If you remember.
Yeah.
That Kansas State team was really good. That Kansas State team beat Xavier in another thriller. One of the best regionals that's ever been through here. It was just unbelievable to play. But, yeah, we experienced that moment, and it's pretty cool to see somebody cut down the nets.
So this is when I'm telling my kids, look, let's try to get to these games, all right? You guys try to go over to them. Plus, just like wandering around, getting a ticket to those games and just kind of hanging around, like that is so fun to be in that atmosphere and to see people coming from all over the country to watch their team in the NCAA tournament. So BYU's a 5.81 average across there. Utah State, a 6.57 average across bracket matrix. I mean, BYU is in the hardest conference by far, right?
Yep.
They get a lot of attention. Utah State doesn't get the attention from the national guys as much, but this to me, the people who are in the know, this to me, they're the highest ranked 7 seed in the latest of bracketology, right? In the latest bracket matrix. They're as high as 5 seeds on some of these.
Yeah.
I even think that, this is CBS has them as a 5 seed. So one of the big ones has them as a 5 seed. And again, you've got BYU as a 6 seed. Utah State is a 7 seed. Utah right now has had a good stretch of the last 2 out of 3 games. By the way, beating UCLA by double digits on the road, I did not see that coming considering how bad Utah has been.
So they won at the buzzer at UCLA, remember?
Oh, so yes,
they
that's
beat
right.
UCLA by 40 at home.
That's what it was.
Yes.
That's what it was. So they end up being one of these teams that can't win on the road, but they do it at a really, really important spot of the season. Craig Smith brought that up. I was actually listening to some of his post-game comments. He's like, we've been trying to dial in the reason that people were talking about us in the first place, right? There's a reason why we were in the conversation for a long, long time and still are kind of on the fringe of that conversation. But they got to do a lot of work to still get back in again to that conversation as being a team that's going to get in the NCAA tournament. I would imagine that right now it's a little bit much, but they're still hanging around. Like they're on 16 of the 108 bracket or 109 brackets. They are an average of an 11.06 seed, so they would be kind of in that play-in type area.
Yeah, we'll have to see what their seeding is in the Pac-12 tournament, because what I think Utah needs is they need to go on a very deep run in the Pac-12 tournament, and they got to beat Arizona. They came so very close at home, had them in overtime, and let that one go. They need a quality win that pushes them over the top, because you're looking at the bubble right now, and they're right on it, but they're on the wrong side. And it's really hard to get quality wins right now because the Pac-12 just doesn't have any outside of Arizona and Washington State. So they need to beat Washington State and or Arizona in that Big 12 tournament and make a deep run in order to get that push over the top. But you know that team's capable. Obviously, they've been bit by the injuries. I just don't think they have enough depth. Depth has been a problem for them all season. Davon Smith has been a revelation for them. Another triple-double in the win over Stanford yesterday. Utes got Cal on Sunday. I don't know, though. I think that they really have to have something like that happen, that scenario play out, or they're going to be on the outside looking in no matter what happens.
Speaking of local teams, of course, I mean, obviously your conversation with Dylan Jones last week, like that has sort of brought a lot of focus to a lot of folks to see how good of a player he is. What was his stat line against Montana or against Northern Colorado the other night?
This is insane. This was last night in a come-from-behind win in overtime over Northern Colorado. A nice win for them in Big Sky play. His line, 30 points, 23 rebounds, 9 assists, 3 steals. And that's on a night where he shot 1 of 9 from 3.
So the bracketologists have, those are crazy numbers, by the way.
Insane.
Who had 23 who had 23 assists? Was it who stared down? Oh, it was Tyrese Halliburton.
Yes.
He stared down Wally Zerbiak. When he went to, like, a couple of weeks ago, he had 20. Anyway, that number 23 for the rebounds for Dylan Jones stood out because the 23 assists that Halliburton had that night where he stared down Wally Zerbiak. I'm going, oh, my goodness. By the way, Weber State, the second most in terms of respect from the bracketologists behind Eastern Washington out of the Big Sky. I think people, you just kind of go, look, Eastern Washington is your odds-on favorite to win right now. Like if you're just talking odds, right?
Sure. Yeah.
But crazy things can happen. It's not like Eastern Washington has been this unbelievably unbeatable team. They are a very good basketball team. But you've sort of sold me on what Dylan Jones can do as a guy who can score at that rate. And superstars in the NCAA tournament is always a good thing. Superstars in a Big Sky Conference tournament,
yes,
like they will absolutely be the difference maker of you beating everybody.
It's always in the Big Sky going to come down to starch, madness, and Boise.
Oh, gosh,
give me if you need 3 wins in Boise. Give me Dylan Jones of Weber State. I think the best player is going to separate. And let me throw out this stat. This shows you just how incredible Dylan Jones' game last night was. This is from OptaStats. NBA or Division I players with 30-plus points, 20-plus rebounds, and 8-plus assists in a game in the last 5 seasons. Nikola Jokic, Luka Doncic, Giannis, LeBron James, and Dylan Jones.
Oh, not a bad group to be a part of.
That is good company.
All right. Here's what we have. We got to take a break. When we come back, we've got more to cover. Hey, we've got an MLB update. Should we? A little MLB update? Are we getting everybody excited
Let's
about
do it. Let's pump up people even more.
Let's
go. There's good news on that front.
There is good news. You know what? It's been all good news, really, over the past couple of months.
There hasn't been one setbact with this stuff.
Phenomenal.
It's all coming together.
Phenomenal. All right, we'll take the break here. We'll come back. We got more to go right here from Slorex, SLOREX.com to get your tickets to the Off-Road and Outdoor Expo here at the Mountain America Expo Center here in Sandy. We're going to take the break. We'll come back. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Accessing. When TV and radio collide.
Love it.
This is what you get. You're listening to JJ and Alex. Presented by G2G Bars.
Don't touch that dial.
On 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, everybody, welcome back. It is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Alex Curie, Jeremiah Jensen, JJ and Alex right here on a Friday here with you. We are out and about at the Mountain America Expo Center here in Sandy. I would say normally when we have these, when we have all of these different, we go to the boat show, we go to the RV show, and they'll have those Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The Salt Lake Outdoor and Off-Road Expo is a today and tomorrow situation only. So if you want to come down and obsess over. But I would say, JJ, that the toys that are at this are cooler than any other show that you can have here at the Expo Center. The amount of this is when the kids get excited. This is when they walk around with their eyes big, right?
This brings the kid out of me.
Oh, yeah.
Because, I would have loved to have had toys that look like this. And now I'm looking at these things. These are real vehicles. Like the side-by-side is, $95,000 side-by-side?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
You could buy 2 Jeeps with that, by the way.
It looks incredible.
It's wild. I mean, yeah. Well, some of the funnest Some of the funnest guys to talk to at these expo are that, like I said, the recovery guys who come in and they're like, "You're stuck because you suck, and we're going to help you out." But then they'll even say, "Even the best of us get stuck." We got to get. My favorite is when the recovery guys have to get recovered by their friends while they were recovering somebody else.
I would totally destroy that $95,000 side by side. There's no
JJ, what's an update on the Major League Baseball situation here in the state of Utah?
Well, they got a big endorsement. That's one. I think we all understand that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints has a big impact in the state, and they're 100% in support of the NHL to Utah stadium proposal. And by the way, that stadium proposal has passed in the legislature.
Yeah, going to Governor Cox's
What's
desk.
stopping it now, Alex? Yeah. It's not stopping. The momentum continues.
Can I ask you this?
Yes.
Does this mean I get an endorsement to go to baseball games on Sunday?
100%.
Okay, got it. You heard it here first.
Yep. President Nelson's giving you a hall pass.
Listen, if you would have said 20 years ago, you'll probably get a memo from the PR department from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints saying that they endorse a baseball team coming here to the state of Utah. Mark it down on the bingo card.
There you go.
I did not have that one.
Did not see that coming.
No, but there you go. So it's going to be on the governor's desk, and then like we were saying, if you're mad about it, though, I mean, it's not going to be 5 minutes away from your house, as it was kind of initially thought about. But I still think you're still better off than not having the prison.
Doesn't
there,
it make a lot of sense?
Yeah, of course.
Right there in downtown.
Of course.
And if it's Ryan Smith's going to be the owner, which is obvious, then to combine the Jazz and the new NHL team in the same building. And make it a big, huge center for everybody to come downtown, revitalize downtown, make downtown a hot spot again. And I think it makes sense. If you're going to do this, do it there.
You know what's coming. Your daily deep dive into everything Utah Jazz. It's time! All season long and even in the off-season, it's Jazz Daily with JJ and Alex on your exclusive home of Utah Jazz basketball. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Basketball, gimme the ball because I'm gonna dunk it! Basketball, gimme.
Still working the dribble on the near side, can't get it to Clarkson. Now he does, there's only 10 on the shot clock. Clarkson dribbles off his leg and turns it over. And Wagner goes the other way to dunk it, and this one is over.
I'm gonna dunk it!
Sense a little frustration in that voice.
Hey, Jeremy. That's the clip you went with, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, look, I don't blame you. I mean, that is kind of a critical moment in the game, right? I mean,
that's how everybody felt.
Yeah, look, Jazz Magic. I think because, JJ, every game now we're kind of talking about how the Jazz are going to be behind the 8 ball the rest of the season to an extent. So expectations have shifted even just in the last couple of weeks, certainly since the trade deadline. And here we are now. The Jazz have lost 7 out of their last 8.
Yeah.
And have fallen off considerably and have now hit the – are they in the 12th spot in the West now? They're still –
Oh, they wish.
Did
I say that out loud?
They're still in the 11th spot, but they are – but they're 4.5 – they're 4.5 games out of it from the did I say that out loud?
5 games.
So, excuse me, 5 games off of the –
The Rockets just won't win games. Come on, Rockets. Help the Jazz out here. They're trying to avoid the convey.
Hey, they're only one avoid the convey. Worst T-shirt
that's
ever.
The theme of the year. I'm going to get my T-shirt. Avoid the convey.
So they're 1.5 off of that 11th spot. Now the 9th and
5 back of
the Warriors
Come on,
now.
The play-in is not even.
What? Come on.
It's not going to happen.
Not even what?
They're not even trying.
Come on. They were too. Those kids working their tails off out there. Hey, Taylor Hendricks went back to his college town last night. It was actually kind of cool in the post game when he was. Look, they didn't win, but you could hear the smile on his face. I mean, he was like, "Listen, He's like 2 years ago, I was in Markelle Fultz's suite with his agent because we have the same agent." He's like, I was in the suite.
That's cool.
In Markelle Fultz's suite, and now I get to play here against him, right? And so that's a cool thing. But the Jazz fall 7 out of 8 they've lost. The Magic are not a bad basketball team, but takeaways from last night's game. It was not. First of all, it was a really short bench, right? I mean, how many guys did they end up playing? They only played 9 guys total last night. And we were talking about how the 8-guy rotation might be kind of where they go the rest of the season. But, man, you had 14 minutes for Bryce Sensabaugh. Lucas Šamanić is getting in for 12 minutes is not your favorite thing as a fan to hear, but that's where you're at here.
Yeah.
Keontae George, though, another bright spot for the young kid, 19 points and 9 assists. I think the 9 assist number is what I really love, too.
Yeah.
He's facilitating, and he's actually making some plays. So if there's something that I liked from last night, it was that Taylor Hendricks was feeling it a little bit. I like to see. I mean, he's coming up close on those double-doubles, and I think that's what you're going to want to do is be that guy. That's how you show that you're buying into the Will Hardy system, is going out and not just trying to score, obviously, but because when you're a rookie, scoring is hard in the NBA.
No doubt.
But you can go in and you can get rebounds. You can go in and you can out-athlete guys under the hoop, and you can be a little bit more aggressive. You certainly are going to have more energy, maybe some of those guys. So a 10-7 night for him. Overall, though, the Jazz, if you're Lauri Markkanen, you just must be really frustrated right now with your guys, and not with them in particular, but just the situation you're in, because now you're 2 years into being at this place, and last year at least you were an all-star. This year, you can't say that, and your team is in a worse spot than they were last season.
Well, how about Jordan Clarkson, who's, kind of in the same boat? These are veteran players. Clarkson, obviously, a little more veteran than Lowry, but still.
Bad night for
These are guys that want to compete and win and, play in the playoffs and all those things. They have goals they want to achieve. And, you have to question, do their goals match with where the Jazz goals are right now, realistically? That's tough. That's tough for them. And this is where you really test whether a guy is a true pro or not. This is where you require professionalism, because this is when it's hard. It's hard for Lauri Markkanen. And I'm sure that some of this is wearing on him, which might explain the dip in his numbers. 6 of 15. 4 of 7 was nice. But the 6 of 15, you want a little bit better production out of him, your best player, 18 points. But we all know what this is about. I'm not going to come here on the radio and try to gloss over that. And we know what's going on here. I mean, you're playing Bryce Sensabaugh 14 minutes when he never played at all before the trade deadline. You're trying to get Keontae George all this experience. Taylor Hendricks played 27 minutes last night as a starter. 10 points, 7 rebounds. But I really want to focus on Keontae George because I do, like you, I think that was really positive last night. He didn't play well against the Hawks. Nobody did.
No.
But it was nice to see him bounce back in a way, 19 points, 9 assists. But the number that stood out to me as you were talking, I'm looking at his assist numbers, but I look a little farther over on the stat sheet, 2 turnovers. So your assist-to-turnover ratio, 9-2. That's over 4-1. That is pretty darn good, and that's what you need out of a young point guard is once they can become efficient and they can play make and also not turn the ball over, then you got something. And that can really help accelerate his development and his success and your team's success. But, yeah, Alex, we know where this is at. We know what's going on here. How hard are they trying to win these games? I mean, the players are playing hard. That's not what we're questioning or talking about. I keep explaining this. The losses are baked in because of who's in your rotation, the lack of experience. And in the NBA, everybody's good. So 3 or 4 plays in a game where experience matters, that's going to be the difference. And that was last night. The Jazz played well. I thought it was really nice how they bounced back after stinking up the joint in Atlanta. They played really good against the Magic. It just wasn't enough. Why? Because they just don't have enough horses right now.
Yeah, the Magic are a better team, too.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
And they're in their building. Bottom line, that's it. That's how it goes in the NBA. If you make 3 or 4 more mistakes than the other team in their building, you're going to lose.
So you're talking about, hey, this is your lineup. This is what you're getting. It's a little bit it's difficult because this is who you're playing. That's why you're going to get the losses that you are, but you're also trying to do something. You're not submarining your team's chances because you're punishing them. You're trying to do something here, and it's a tough thing for them to understand. But also Bryce Sensabaugh, who's now in the last 4 games has averaged about 15 minutes a game and about 3.5 points a game. What's Bryce Sensabaugh? That's a guy who we've been waiting to kind of get totally healthy, all season, and facilitating his minutes, of course, because they've gotten to the point that they are, trying to get to those L's more than they are the W's. Then what can you expect out of a guy like Bryce Sensabaugh? Like, what's best case scenario for Bryce Sensabaugh, for Danny Ainge and Justin Zanuck?
Well, if you're looking at what Bryce Sensabaugh did well before he got to the Utah Jazz, before the NBA, the dude can shoot. He's a scorer. He can fill it up. He's a guy you want to get the ball in his hands and let him go get you a bucket. And so what I want to see him do is get comfortable doing that in the NBA. Last night, 2 points, 0 for 2 from the field, just 2 shots from a guy whose game is getting shots. I mean, I want to see more from him. I want to see him get more looks. I want to see him be more productive. And I understand he's only been playing, 6-7 games at this point in the NBA now. This is a lot to ask somebody who was taken middle to late of the first round.
Right.
But this is what he does. This is what his value is. Let's see him do that. Let's see him get the ball more. Let's see him get more looks. Let's see him build that confidence and show the Jazz and show the NBA that he can score at this level and do so consistently. He's going to have a chance to start to prove that. Now, do you expect him to do that every night as a rookie right now? In this situation, of course you do not. But you need to see signs. Just like we see moments with Taylor Hendricks, moments with Keontae George, you want to see enough moments with Sensabaugh for the Jazz to believe that he's someone they want to invest in long term. Because, look, the Jazz are going to get, possibly, if they don't convey,
oh boy,
2 first-round picks and a high second-round pick who would likely be on the roster next year. So you're going to add 3 more young players to your roster next year with the 3 you just took? You're not trying to get younger. What you're trying to do is acquire more assets. And so somebody like Bryce Sensabaugh, if it's like, you know what, I'm not seeing it, he could get moved because the Jazz would have that luxury. So it's important for these young guys to show that they belong. The Jazz, I don't think they're – I think you think, a rookie coming in the league, they're going to have a lot of patience for them.
Right.
I don't think I believe that. I think they need to see a certain level of production and a certain amount of ability at the NBA level from them quickly in order to say, okay, we want you to be a part of our future.
Right.
And that will impact our draft decisions coming up in June or our off-season plans. Or you show enough in this stretch, if you're Jazz front office, Taylor Hendricks, Bryce Sensabaugh show enough, and it's like, okay, we've got our eye on this veteran player. This team is starting to tear it down. Okay, they realize their championship window is no longer. They're going to start tearing it down. There's a veteran player that we think can make a difference. They go to that team and say, hey, did you like Bryce Sensabaugh? Did you like what you saw from Taylor Hendricks? We have these first-round picks, and we got him. What do you think? This is how the process occurs.
Right.
So both sides here want to see some production, something to get excited about.
So if a guy like in the end, when you see kind of the guys that they're rotating in, and the guys, how many minutes, you're almost seeing a prescribed amount of minutes, right, for all these guys. But the prescribed amount of minutes for guys like Jordan Clarkson and Larry Markkinen are almost always going to be in that 35-plus category. And what ends up being the end game for a guy like Jordan Clarkson? Because I know that everybody knows, and we've talked about this a lot, how July ends up being a little bit more exciting, or at least the summer ends up being more exciting. Free agency becomes where the Jazz, that's one of the 2 places, because it's not going to, or not free agency, but the trades that are available there, right?
Yes.
Because nobody goes, hey, I want to get to Utah. That's my number 1 destination.
Uh-huh.
I mean, they figure out while they're here, this is an organization that's committed to getting some W's long term. But the trades and the draft, okay? Those 2 things, as we're approaching those, what's the idea? Who are the guys who are right now untouchable when it comes to those? Because trades obviously can happen around the draft as well, and the day of the draft and while they're drafting. So what does it look like? I mean, last year we weren't expecting anything to happen. Did the Jazz not have a pick last year, or was it? No, it was 2 years ago. Remember, they didn't have picks, and then they
had 3 picks last year. But you're right. Yeah, Danny Ainge. I talked to Danny Ainge last season, and it was boring.
Right.
It wasn't fun for him.
No.
He wants to have picks. He wants to be able to do things, and so they went out and changed that, and it was much different this year and last year. So. It's a good question, Alex. What is going to be the goal for the offseason? I think it just depends on what opportunities present themselves. You mentioned Jordan Clarkson. Is he a part of the Jazz future or not? I think fans would love him to be. But do you want to ask Jordan Clarkson to do this again? No.
And he'd probably even say, hey, if we're doing this again, could you maybe figure something out with me? Please.
And who would blame him? Not one person.
Right.
Okay, so now here, let me flip this here. So you've got Lowry as well, who wants to win. These guys want to start winning games. So the Jazz could go either of 2 ways this summer, and I think it just depends on what the opportunities present themselves. What if that veteran player that we didn't expect becomes available and they are able to make that move that's going to change the franchise? and they can pull it off, and they can keep Jordan Clarkson and Lauri Markkanen here because the team they're taking it from doesn't want the older players. They want the younger players in the picks, just like we saw with what the Jazz pulled off with Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert. Then you keep Jordan Clarkson, and you obviously you invest in Lauri Markkanen long term, and then you're off and running. Now, if you realize that deal's not out there, it's not going to happen this offseason, we owe it to Jordan, and maybe you owe it to Lauri Markkanen. Maybe you owe it to him to kind of consider things, because there's going to be a lot of teams that say, hey, Utah, what would it take? We'd love to trade for Lauri Markkanen, and we want to be that team that gives him that long-term extension. And if you're the Jazz and you're still 3 or 4 years away, maybe you have to say, okay, well, maybe we need to think about that, depending on what they're going to throw in there. Hypotheticals, all hypotheticals I just said. These are the options the Jazz are going to have this summer. And because of all the picks and all the things that they've acquired and the players they have on the roster, they're going to have a lot of options. Whether they have the opportunities to use those options or not, we will have to wait and see. But whatever that option is or whatever presents itself will determine the future direction that they take in the offseason.
Man, I'm just looking at a tweet that you just sent me. That's depressing. Although it's kind of nice. Let me explain it. Because this happens periodically in the game of golf.
Yeah.
Remember when was it Tiger that carded the? Did he have a 12 on a hole? It was at the Masters, wasn't it? He kept shooting over and over the bunker.
He had a moment.
It was like a 10 or a 12.
It was, yeah.
It was something bad like that.
And you're kind of like, oof.
Yeah, but then you go, he's one of us, right?
Well,
not really.
Not.
But we'll always.
The lies we tell ourselves.
But we'll always do that, right? We go, no.
Yeah.
But you just sent me a tweet. I don't know who this golfer is.
I don't either.
But he's on the Korn Ferry Tour.
Yes.
And he's 6 or 7 putted. 6 putted from about 4 feet out.
It looked like,
if you're having a bad day, I want you to think about that.
It looked like your brother-in-law at the putt-putt golf.
He's 6 putted
on a Friday night
from about 4.5 feet out. So if you're feeling bad about yourself on a Friday, if you're feeling bad about your golf game or your handicap, I want you to think about 6 putting from 4 feet. All right.
All the latest news and notes from the league and the locals in the NFL. JJ and Alex bring you the NFL Blitz on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Oh, look who saved the day right now. Matt rolling up.
Thank you.
Did you read his mind that he wanted a Diet Coke? He knew it.
Is it that obvious?
Yeah, look at him. I got the.
It's that obvious. I'm a Diet Coke drinker.
I got the Red Bull. As an F1 fan, I'm lamenting the fact that Red Bull's probably going to win every race again this year.
Yeah.
It starts up this weekend, by the way. We have an F1 podcast we do at KSL Sports. We did it this week, and we're back in the swing of things. Myself and Dan Jimenez, the president of Chatbooks. He and I do a F1 podcast, if you can believe it. Because
shameless plug.
Because you know what I needed in my life?
What?
And my wife is very much a fan, too. Hey, you know what we need from you? Another sport that you're interested in. And I'm all,
did not see that coming, did she?
Oh, I'll do that podcast for free, sure. Now, the good news is also for her is that they are usually weird times, that she's not awake. So
those 4 a.m. starts?
Yeah. I'm not waking up for those, but I still get up early and watch it. By the way, we're giving away tickets right now. Caller number 12 to 801-575-ZONE gets is it just a pair of tickets? Not that that's a bad thing, but a pair of tickets to Real Salt Lake tomorrow. First home match of the season, you can catch Real, and we are going to give you those tickets. You can also hear it, of course, right on our station. And I think tomorrow... Yeah, I think you're going to be able to hear most of the whole thing on the KSL Sports Zone. You might get a little bit of post-game interrupted by the Jazz because they're playing tomorrow.
That's right.
But first match of the season, first home match of the season, I should say, after their 2-0 loss to Miami, of course, that started off everything. They come home, and you're going to be able to see Real. First home match of the season, 801-575-ZONE. That's 801-575-ZONE. You get a pair of tickets to see Real tomorrow. Oh, what's the weather going to be like, though? Now, the good thing about soccer is they don't cancel.
Rain, sleet, or snow. Just soccer's like football; they'll play. But bundle up, everybody.
Oh, it's a
the
noon
noon
kickoff?
kickoff will help a little bit. We'll see if the rain stays away by 2 p.m. when they end the match.
You're being generous. You're being generous. Hey, you know
I
what?
mean, I'm not weather guy, but it doesn't look good.
Hey, the riot's going to show up, okay?
Always does.
So let's go. All right. 801-575-ZONE. You get a pair of tickets to the Real match tomorrow. Okay. NFL Blitz. Right off the bat, this is something we may mention at the beginning of the show, but we didn't really get to it. And I wanted to make sure that we got to it because I don't know. Now, hold on a minute. Who's this? What's his name now? Dude, I'm already forgetting it.
Tyler Owens. Texas Tech.
Texas Tech product. And one of the guys who likely is going to, if not has already, he's supposed to be a sub 4.3 guy. And that'll get you on a team. Ask Javelin Guidry. If you're fast,
yes,
you will. A team will give you a shot, or 2, or 3. And so he's a defensive back, plays for Texas Tech, is at the Combine. During the interviews at the Combine, because, that's part of the whole thing, GM's got to get to know you, and the media wants to get to know you. He was asked about some of his beliefs that had apparently come out earlier in the day because he was talking about his thoughts on flat Earth, which he was like, hey, there's some validity to that. And everyone went, huh?
Oh,
Excuse
no.
you? And that's
At
when
the Combine?
I know, and that's when everybody scoots forward and goes,
no.
Could you elaborate on that? I know we were working on some of the audio. It was a pretty bad. It was kind of bad audio. Jeremy, are we going to try to give it a shot? I don't know how excited we are about it. It's such bad audio, but let me just give you.
You got the quote.
We got the quote. JJ, I brought this up to you, and I said, dude, this cat, Tyler Owens, is making a name for himself for all the wrong reasons at the Combine. And he said, quote, I don't believe in space. Huh? So flat Earth is not even, flat Earth is like a little further down the line than this. I don't believe in space. And everyone said, so how did you get to that point? Well, I did a little bit of investigating on my own. I don't believe in space. I'm real religious. So I think we're alone right now. I don't think there are other planets or anything like that. No space, no planets, and flat earthers might have a point. Tyler Owens might be in the NFL next year. Now, you and I both talked about this, and I go, he better run a sub 4.3 because there's not an organization out there who's going to be like, let's take a flyer on this guy who's okay. You better be elite speed. And JJ, you just told me at least at the broad jump, didn't he beat everybody? For everything?
I have good news and bad news for Tyler Owens today. 12 feet 2 inches on the broad jump.
Yeah.
It's the second best broad jump in Combine history. Bad news, he ran the 40, pulled up lame in the middle of the 40.
Oh!
We did not get a time on Tyler Owens. It must have been the interplanetary pull.
It's that darn gravity.
The gravitational pull.
Gravity's
impacted
not real.
by the moon that's not real.
They're all. Have you ever been to the beach? Yeah. You ever seen the waves? Yeah. I think there's space. I think there's a moon. He said, I think we're alone right now. What is he looking at, though, when he looks up in the sky at night and sees the moon? What about, look, I told you before, one of the best things I ever did in terms of my education was I took an astronomy class up in Washington, all right? Astronomy kicked my butt grade-wise, but I learned a lot. One was that space is real. Now,
yes.
Now, you might
As if you hadn't looked up in the sky and noticed that before.
So, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out what he thinks space
I'm sure
exactly
I'm going to get
is.
something on Twitter that says, hey, you guys are being ignorant. You guys really need to do your research.
Yeah, okay. I'll look into it.
You guys haven't done your research.
I think you brought it up, too.
I have, and you guys need to do your research.
The Internet has given us all of the information we could ever handle. But part of the pendulum swinging the other direction is it gives us all the information.
Yeah.
Even the stuff that is – reality? What was it?
Analytics.
The analytics. Oh, yeah.
Patrick Waugh.
Patrick, don't call me Roy, Waugh.
We don't like analytics when you're in the bottom of the league, and we like it when we're in the top of the league.
I'm telling you.
Even the analytics say that there's space and planets.
I want to have a T-shirt that says, I don't believe in space. Can you make that for me?
That's
Actually,
incredible.
Print me a hoodie.
Someone's on it already.
I know. Someone's already doing it.
Thank you, Tyler Owens.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, Tyler Owens, congratulations. on your thoughts on this. I do want to get to the combine again. Caleb Williams, who is the projected number 1 overall pick in this year's draft to go to the Bears, likely, is believed to be the first player ever to skip. Or no, is the first player at this combine or ever? Because there are some guys who can't. There are some guys who just don't do it because they're not invited to the combine. There's some guys. Now, if a team is interested in you, the combine, they don't just do medical evaluations, JJ. They absolutely, they dig into every little thing that could have ever been a part of your medical history because they are going to make millions of dollars of investment in you. And Caleb Williams has skipped medical evaluations at the combine. I kind of don't care if you're the number 1 overall pick. You don't get to say, I'm skipping the medical evaluations.
Sure you do. But what, you think the Bears are going to be like, you know what? Caleb Williams, he's a generational talent, but he wouldn't do the medicals at the combine, so we're going to pass.
But hold on a minute.
He's the first overall pick.
Wouldn't an owner...
If he was a third-round pick, he wouldn't be able to have this power.
Wouldn't an owner go, hey, listen, I kind of want to get some physical going on here because, well, one, you're required... He's going to... If the team picks him, then they're going to have to do it anyway.
He'll do them on team visits, he says. And I think there's only one team he's going to visit. Maybe 2 or 3 if his agent hears some things about a team wanting to trade
Well,
up.
they did say that they do actually, they have a general kind of exam that goes on, and then other teams can do kind of extra stuff. They'll bring their own medical team in and kind of look at if you have extra questions. But I think we've all known there are people whose careers get sidelined before they even start when they find something wrong with them. And, a team's making a few $1 million of investment. I think it's crazy. This just shows – this is another thing that I just don't like about Caleb Williams. Just the thing where you go, no, I'm good.
Let me tell you.
They go, no one's ever said no to the medical exams. He goes, yeah, never met
I
me
have.
before, did you?
He has rubbed me wrong ever since Pac-12 Media Day 2 years ago. When him and his head coach come in, everybody wears polos.
They're wearing suits.
You're out in the sun. It's Southern California. It's July. Everyone's in their polos, and he comes in wearing his $10,000 suit. They walked in late, by the way, and they did it on purpose.
Do you remember it? And it was Gucci.
Oh yeah.
The whole thing was I got this Gucci suit.
Yep.
And you remember too they had.
And he wouldn't do individual interviews.
No.
They made him do a big scrum.
So stupid. Yeah, he's a guy I wouldn't hang out with.
And then the when Utah beat them, just not going out in the middle with all the other players and shaking hands and stuff.
No,
I
about
get it. Look, it's devastating. It was a big loss for you guys. It kind of ended all the dreams you had that season. But have some sportsmanship. Go out there and shake hands, and then go to the locker room and deal with the loss. I get it. It's hard. That's part of being a leader. Is he going to do that in the NFL? If he gets beat by Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes, is he going to sit there on the sideline and whine and then walk off the field and not go shake their hand? Dude, this is the NFL.
I kind of hope he does because everyone else is going to go.
I think he's going to do exactly what I just said.
Hey, buddy.
Because he thinks he can do whatever he wants to.
He's going to come into the NFL. He will be the 27th best quarterback in the league this year, right? There's no way he's just going to take off. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I do not believe it. You know why? Half the reason is going to be because he's going to go to the freaking Bears, man.
That's not going to help.
And so he's going to go out there, and we're going to do this whole, well, gee, shucks, it's his first year, and, the Bears are kind of trying to figure some things out. Dude, I'm telling you, it's going to be bad news. Mark it down. Caleb Williams might not be a bust, but I do think that he is not going to be nearly the player that we have all been told, oh, it's a generational guy. Then do generational things at a school that you're at, okay? Do it at a blue blood program. You're not going in and winning the Heisman at a place that no one's ever heard of. You're going in and you were the odds-on favorite to win the Heisman, and you just showed up and won it. And you know what else you didn't do? You didn't win anything else. No conference championships, nothing of importance. You sat around like a baby. You know what? Mark it down. He's going to be the worst. He's going to be the worst quarterback in the league this year for efficiency numbers. Boom, got it.
It also doesn't help that Chicago's where quarterbacks go to die.
Yeah.
Either that or it's New Jersey.
I know.
I can't remember which. Both have a bad track record.
Caleb Williams is going to go in there, or Justin Fields is in there going, Yeah, man. Oh, stinks to be you. So sorry. I'm over here enjoying this new.
You know what?
This new franchise that makes good decisions, man.
Nobody was more happy about the Bears getting the number 1 overall pick this year than Justin Fields, because he's going to get his ticket out of town. They're going to trade him to an organization that wants him, and he's going to go thrive somewhere else.
Okay,
mark it down.
Let's take a break. We'll come back. We've got tons to go around the corner, so stay with us. 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
Wrapping up the hour with our picks for the best and worst moments on today's show. As JJ and Alex want to hear your best and worst of the day.
All right, welcome back. 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. We're here at the Slorex. It's just SLOREX. It's the Salt Lake Outdoor and Off-Road Expo right here at the Mountain America Expo Center here in Sandy. Again, if you're thinking to yourself, I'll just show up Sunday. This is a Friday and Saturday situation only, okay? And that's why you got to come down and check out the ridiculous toys that are here. We're going to chat with one of our guests in just a moment here. But before we do, some best and worst here. Let's go first over some best, because we have some state champions to be crowned. Now, of course, basketball is one of the funnest things. Like, I love football more than anything, and the state championships, of course, that you guys cover and are a huge part of is a huge deal. But I think going to a basketball game at a state championship, that's what I used to love when I was in high school. You go, maybe take the day off, and go and you go up to the, for us it was the Tacoma Dome. Go down and check out the state championships down there, because it was a full arena that was transformed into a basketball court, and fitting 20,000 people in there to watch it. And that's what's going on up at the Huntsman Center for some of these bigger classifications. What do we have state championship-wise here?
All right,
AJ?
the 5A state championship on the girls' side has been claimed, and once again, Bountiful repeats as champion. They defeat Wasatch 62-35.
Not close.
Taylor Harvey, 24 points, 8 rebounds. Malika Satuwala, 19 points, 8 rebounds. Taylor Harvey, 6 blocks, 4 steals as well. They've been dominant. They repeat as champions. Lone Peak, the Knights, have won a 3rd consecutive state title on the girls' side. The Knights take down Copper Hills 65-47, and they were led by Shawnee Nordstrom, who had 16 points and 4 rebounds. Kennedy Woolston had 15 points, 6 rebounds. On the boys' side, the 5A state championship in progress right now. Late in the 4th quarter, Olympus now has an 11-point lead over Alta, the defending 5A champs, late in the 4th quarter. So the Titans are just a minute away from a state championship, taking down the defending 5A champs, the Alta Hawks, but Alta just hit a 3.
Ooh.
They're trying to stay in it. Great game there at the Huntsman Center. Later tonight, Corner Canyon will take on Lehigh for the 6A state championship. You can watch all these games streaming live on KSLSports.com.
What? Corner Canyon and Lehigh are in a state championship against one another?
Your home for the best coverage of the Jazz, Utes, and Cougars is right here on The Zone. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Final segment of the program. We've had a successful day here at Slorex, the Salt Lake Outdoor and Off-Road Expo. I switch them out. I say Off-Road and Outdoor Expo, and I'll say Off-Road. I'll say Outdoor and Off-Road Expo. It's all the same.
Haven't told the wife and kids yet, but I'm going to sell our home so I can buy the $95,000 side-by-side.
You know what? You could probably have the kids sleep in the back.
Yeah. Or
there's that box on top, though.
I didn't really think that far ahead, Alex.
There's that box on top.
I was a little impulsive on my part.
How old's your youngest?
7.
Boom, right in that box.
Yep. He fits.
Perfect. You throw a snack up there every once in a while?
Yeah, and if they act up, Gil and naughty, just kick them out.
How about $95,000 UTV? Could you imagine?
No. I would like to be able to, but I can't.
Yeah. You can't. You're not even allowed to imagine it.
No, I'm not even allowed to look at it.
So, interesting stretch here for the Jazz. You've got one more on the road here before they come back home for a couple of games. tomorrow against the Heat. Then they come on Monday back home to play the Wizards. And at this point, JJ, I would say, oh, man, that Heat game is going to be kind of tough. Might be a tough one to win. Oh, but they come back and they play the Wizards. They'll win that one. There's no game now. There's not. The Bulls are going to be there on Wednesday as well.
The Wizards didn't win in the month of February.
Right. There's no game where you should feel safe about how things are going.
There is not any safety.
Now, so Jazz at the Heat tomorrow. It's going to be a 3 p.m. tip-off. You're going to hear that pregame at 2 o'clock on 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. Let's hear what Will Hardy had to say about this Jazz team in the win. That's hilarious.
Not now.
The loss last night against the Magic. Here's what he said about late game situations, which is where they lost it.
And I felt like down the stretch there were obviously a couple of plays that just didn't go our way. I thought Keontae drove and maybe got fouled. They came down, and Suggs ends up hitting a three on the underneath out of bounds. We go back the other way. Lowry gets a good look from three and misses. This is the one possession of the game where I just feel like it shows an area of growth that we need to reach, which is it's a 4-point game, minute 5 left, and Banchero gets the ball in the post, and we're disorganized.
Banchero. Pretty good second-year player, man. He's really.
Banchero's great.
Jalen Suggs was hitting all the threes.
Didn't see that coming. He's gotten better this year.
As a guy who had to watch him a lot at Gonzaga, to see him starting to come around a little bit, you go, oh, yeah, he's a good player. You forget he's quite a good player. All right. Jazz tomorrow versus the Heat, and then they're back at home for a couple of next week. At the beginning of the week, they're back on the road again. JJ, did you have fun at Slorex today, bro?
I had a blast. I don't want to leave.
All right. For Parker, who is hitting all the buttons here, and for Jeremy, who's hitting the buttons back in Salt Lake, JJ over here, I'm Alex. We will be back again for another edition of this program on Monday. We'll see you then, everybody.